days are short and the nights are long. And I walk, and then walk, I choose, and then choose, and I shimmy, and then shimmy, and I fly, and then fly. Wherever I say having fun, in the warm California sun. When I'm going out west down on
Sports Sunday rolls on 5:34 on WCCO. Eric Nelson with you coming up at 6. It is 60 Minutes, the iconic CBS program. Roshini Rajkumar in the house. Until then, a lot to get into. Roshini, let's talk Olympics. And certainly Michael Phelps. He's got more gold than Fort Knox.
Exactly. And I was reading the New York Times this morning. I can't remember what number it was, but it said something like if he were a country, he'd be X number, like the 36th or the 16th most. I can't remember. I think it was 36th most medals. Isn't that crazy? If he were a country.
Yeah, he's a country unto himself.
Exactly.
All right, so we know about his exploits in the pool, 22 medals, 18 golds.
Right.
More golds than anybody in Olympic history. And he's already cashed in on this fame and fortune. Does he get any bigger in the endorsement world?
Oh, I think he can. And here's one thing. I just want to say kudos to you, Michael Phelps. You're retiring from your main sport, your main job at 27. I mean, who gets to do that? He can basically start a new life now, Eric, with a nice little bankroll to really do anything he wants. He could go invest in another country if he wants to and bankroll their whole Olympic team. But anyway, that's another story. He basically, at this point, is coming off such a great level. I mean, you can't even script this, right? You can't script it. And one thing I found interesting in this New York Times article as they interviewed him, he didn't really study the people who came before him, both in swimming and the gymnast who had the previous record of gold medals, because he didn't want to set any limits for himself. So he didn't really know much about their past history on his own, which I thought was a really cool thing. He just said, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have my best Olympics ever. This is what I want to do. He set all these goals for himself, both in Beijing in 2008 and this year in London. And I think that's a really great moral lesson and just athletic lesson, really, inspiration for all of us. Don't let yourself be set by the limits of anyone else, even the greats who came before you, the icons who came before you. So he clearly is coming off as one of the biggest athletes in all of history. And how does he propel this further? Well, I'd say pick some brands that you like, which he's done in his swimming career, but perhaps there are some that sort of go over into his civilian world, which, he could probably do any kind of sports commentating he wants to do. He can write his own ticket. So my advice as a coach would be choose wisely, do things that really are connected to you and you believe in their brands, because now they'll be connected to your brand.
All right, so that's good advice for Michael Phelps, who is maybe the most decorated Olympic athlete in history.
Can I ask a question about Phelps' teammate?
Right.
There was a major misstep, and I don't think people really kind of caught on or see it the way I saw it initially when it happened. But if you noticed when Ryan Lochte won his first medal, he wanted to put the grill in. He had a diamond-encrusted grill, red, white, and blue.
Okay.
And he wanted to wear this on the podium. And Olympic officials came and said, you can't do that. You can't wear that on the podium. If you do, we're not going to give you the medal. Took it out. They presented him with his medal, and then as soon as he got off the podium, he put it in and had a bunch of pictures taken, which, of course, went viral. Now, what occurred to me immediately is you're on the world stage with a lot of countries that are going through some severe economic hardships right now.
Absolutely.
You're on a stage with Greece and Turkey in places where they really aren't doing well.
And this is their big deal. I mean,
Yes.
The Olympics are that one bright light for some of these countries right now.
As much as that grill cost you might be as much as some countries put into their entire Olympic program.
Yeah.
Is this a big misstep for him? Does he take a marketing hit by appearing to be insensitive to the economic situation in the world?
Well, all I can say for him is do what you can to apologize for that and really try to make it about you. And you know what? I just got caught up in this moment in my life. If he feels an apology is necessary. But that's when you have to show sportsmanship and class and follow the rules of what the Olympic officials say you're supposed to be doing.
All right, let's talk about family members of famous people like Ryan Lochte or Tom Brady. We remember after the Super Bowl, Gisele
Yep.
Bundchen said, "Hey, his receivers didn't catch the ball."
Exactly.
Badmouthed
She
the threw the receivers under the bus.
Swore at the team.
So you've got Ryan Lochte's mom the other day saying, "Well, he doesn't have time for a girlfriend. He's just going to have one-night stands." Now, she backtracked.
Wow.
But how do you put a
Boy,
filter
what kind of mom
on
is
mom?
that?
or maybe he doesn't care that mom said it, but
Right. Yeah.
well, how do you coach that one, Roshini?
First of all, I have the best mom in the world, but I mean, I'm a communication coach, and I mean, she's not coachable. There's no way. And I mean, many of these moms, that's the case. I mean, we love them, but I think that's where you have to sort of laugh it off. You have to laugh it off, but there are other stories of parents and family members, and it's interesting that you bring up the whole girlfriend line because Michael Phelps has an ex-girlfriend. She was a beauty queen pageant, Nicole Johnson. They were on again, off again, and apparently, as far as we know, broke up earlier this year. Wouldn't this have been a fun time to be dating Michael Phelps?
I would think so.
I mean, she's got to wonder what she did there. You got to wonder if she sent him a text after that last medal.
Okay. Well, let's talk about another Olympic athlete on the USA basketball team.
And also, I'm curious, before we get to the basketball team, is it strange to you, Eric, that we usually only hear about mothers and athletes? Michael Phelps and his mom. Sean, what is her last name, the gymnast from Des Moines, and her mom. Are there dads in these pictures? Or maybe there are, they just don't get the attention that the moms do.
There are some. I remember the hockey player Eric Lindros.
Yes.
His mother and father were both accused of being meddling and overbearing, and
Right.
The accusations were pretty good on that. I don't know. The mom is always kind of the one that gets the credit.
And in some cases, it's a single mom story, and
Right.
it's a great
Right.
story. However, I just want to give a shout out to the dads because I'm sure you athletes have dads out there, and hopefully they were part of bringing you up and getting you to where you are. But it hasn't gone unnoticed that only the moms seem to get attention come Olympic years.
All right. How does Kobe Bryant go to Vanessa? They're trying to reconcile now.
Oh,
Remember?
my gosh,
Divorce
the
was in the works. They're
saga.
trying to reconcile. So Kobe is sitting there a few days ago next to a couple of gorgeous Olympic babes with his shirt off, and the photo goes viral.
Right.
Vanessa blows a gasket.
Right.
How does Kobe get out of this one, Roshini?
Well, were his arms around them?
No.
Okay, that's good. Good step number one. This is the woman he gave that huge 14-karat diamond.
Yes.
Right? Okay, in years
Yes.
past. I would, get that diamond out, really remind her about the diamond, find out what else she wants right now. There's, Kobe, I mean, boys will be boys. I'm sort of tired of that story. You've got to make a decision, make a choice. Is this who you want to be with? Then stay with her and fight for it. If you want to be shirtless around a lot of other women, then maybe you got to go your separate ways. I don't know what advice even I, a communication coach, could give Kobe. He needed me years ago, Eric.
Yeah, before Colorado.
Before Colorado.
What are the odds of reconciliation in your book here?
Oh,
I would say they took a major hit.
They have a history, right? They've been together
Oh,
from
yeah.
a young age, and so that's probably what he has to appeal to, and I certainly cannot judge anybody else with their relationships when I look back at my life. But the bottom line is, if there's a history there and if there's truly love, it's worth fighting for. But some of that should be done off social media, not being tweeted about. The real couples, I think I've said this in past times on your air, Eric, during your show, the real couples don't usually have a social media broadcast relationship. It's happening off the court, not in social media, not tweeted about, and that's what he's got to do. He's got to just go home, do his private business, take care of it, and figure out what she wants.
All right, I hope Kobe's listening on the streamline over there in London.
We can send him the podcast, Eric.
We will. Chris will do that. Roshini Rajkumar.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. I know how to get a hold of him.
Here until 6. Yeah, he'll get it done. Now, one of the golden girls, literally, at the Olympics, Gabby Douglas, the flying squirrel, gets a Kellogg's cornflake box with her photo on it already. So she looks like she's ready to cash in.
Well, this is huge. I mean, I don't know. I think we're about the same age, Eric. Bruce Jenner. I'll always remember that Wheaties box, And even people who are younger and older than I will.
You don't remember him for the Kardashians?
It's the one thing that lets me give him credit for being on the Kardashian show is that he was once that guy who won those medals and was on the Wheaties box. That's the Bruce Jenner I remember from my childhood. So we just can't say enough about choosing the right products, the right relationships, and Wheaties isn't a bad one. So if she's on that,
She's cornflakes.
No. I think it is Wheaties, Eric.
I thought it was Kellogg's cornflakes. Double check it. Because if it was Wheaties, we'd be seeing it here in Minnesota already.
Well, okay, because cornflakes, I would say that's a real interesting.
And they don't go down that road.
Cornflakes? Wow.
They don't go down there. Well, let me ask you this.
The more wholesome breakfast cereal, perhaps.
No. This is General Mills. Wheaties.
Yeah, this is Kellogg's, Battle Creek, Michigan.
Hey, I'd rather
General
be on
Mills,
Wheaties if I could
Minneapolis.
do any sport.
Is it risky for, and I'll just use athletes as an example, but you could certainly throw entertainers or somebody else into the mix, for somebody like Kellogg's or General Mills to use an athlete, knowing what we know now, and there are missteps with a lot of them? Or are you better off just saying, you know what, I'm going to create Tony the Tiger, who is iconic, been around forever, never got in trouble, according to my notes. Tony the Tiger is spotless, right?
He is.
Are you better off creating...
Don't talk to his mom, though. Don't talk to his mom.
Yeah, we don't want to talk to Tanya Tiger. But I mean, aren't you better off doing that?
Well,
and it costs less. How much do they pay Tony the Tiger?
Yeah, it does. But you have to think about there's a limited time frame when these various athletes win their medals or have their varying heights, that these brands also have a limited window to make some money off of that. So not only offer the contract, but themselves go with what kids want, what people want, the various images. So I don't really blame these brands for wanting to align. But what I would say, the lawyer in me says, check out their backgrounds, make sure there's no criminal history, make sure, nobody is perfect, so you're not going to find a blemish-free person. I mean, even Michael Phelps, he had, when he went a little into pseudo-retirement, he had, some things he might not want to talk about front and center right now. But they're there. It makes him a real person. So if there are those things and you're one of the people who is endorsing a product or you're asked to endorse, make sure you have a way to explain anything that doesn't seem that wholesome.
Should an American company go after somebody like Usain Bolt, who's from Jamaica? Would that play here where we like to wave the red, white, and blue flag and, talk about how great it is to be in the USA? Would that work?
Oh, I think it would, because he's one of those guys that is now an iconic figure in sport. Think of some of the gymnasts from, again, her name is Komenichi from Russia.
Nadja.
Right? Yeah. Yep. And think of some of these names that are just worldwide, of various countries. So I think that you can't go wrong with Usain Bolt. And in a way, it gives a nice little shout out to Jamaica, and it's supporting other countries when these big brands that are worldwide brands, really, even if they're based in the U.S., they are really worldwide brands.
Are there any big losers you've seen so far in the Olympics in terms of where their Q ratings just gone down?
Well, I mean, the ones that, and I don't have all the names at the tip of my brain right now, but the ones that have some suspicion of the steroids. It's like, people that you could get tested at any moment. Why would you even play with that? We've talked about steroids here on your show before. I mean, it's one of those things that put such a knock on your whole team. You're representing the entire country when you are going to the Olympics. You're representing your country. So why do that? It's a coveted spot on every team. There are only so many positions for a team to take from a particular sport. So why would you do that?
Well, and it seems to me, too, that the Olympics are so – when you talk about the world of sports and, baseball focuses on really one – they market one group, and basketball gets to another group, and football gets to another group, your group, Eric. But when you look at the Olympics, isn't it really the most wide-ranging, most marketable sport? If you come out of that looking good, you're going to look great. I mean, you can market to kids, men, women, adults, older people. I mean, it seems like everybody falls into that, but if you misstep – Right. You're turning off a lot of groups too, right?
Absolutely. And you're right. The Olympics truly worldwide, whereas, the sports we know here, I mean, soccer is not as popular in the U.S. as it is in Europe and other parts of the world. Football is really such an American thing. So the Olympics really cover all these sports, as Chris has noted. And so if you're going to be a brand or an athlete that's connected to a brand, I mean, that's the time. The Olympics are the time for any U.S. athlete or any athlete really to say, let's see how I can catapult my victories here out into the civilian world.
Now, I asked TC last hour because Andy Murray knocked off Roger Federer to win the men's gold medal in tennis today.
Wow.
And it was a reverse of what happened at Wimbledon where Federer won. TC says it's still bigger for Federer to win Wimbledon than Murray winning the Olympics. But from a marketing standpoint, cashing in on something unique that's once every 4 years,
Right.
is that bigger for Murray or is it still Wimbledon?
Well, I think Wimbledon is still bigger. I'd agree with Chris. But the bottom line is they're both huge. I mean, that's kind of like, peanut butter or chocolate. I mean, if you like one, the other isn't bad. It's the kind of thing where I'd take either one, Eric.
Yeah, I would too. That's why they make Reese's peanut butter cups and Reese's Pieces by General Mills.
What a great rivalry for the sport. I mean, that's what's really cool. They're great athletes, great sportsmen. It's really neat to see that tandem happen.
All right, we will pause, come back, and finish up with Roshini here on WCCO.
News Radio 830, WCCO. Always.
We are winding it up on a Sports Sunday. Eric Nelson with you, Roshini Rajkumar here until 6 o'clock, and then it is 60 Minutes. And then after that, we'll give her the iconic label, Geraldine Steele. Steele
yes.
talking,
yeah,
7 to 11.
we can give her that
yes.
label for sure.
All right, we have just a little bit of time, Roshini, but tomorrow really is going to be round 2 in the battle of AP versus the HPD. Adrian Peterson will be in court in Houston.
Yep.
Was arrested, as we know, a few weeks ago. And he's declaring his innocence every step of the way, and he now has Rusty Hardin, the high-profile attorney down there in Texas, who got Roger Clemens off of his steroid accusations. So if you had Adrian's ear, what would you be telling him now?
Well, I would say just continue to smile, Adrian. You're a good-looking guy. The fans love you. You are still thought of very well here. It's not some drunken charge. It's not some battery charge. You're not hurting children or women. So just keep smiling and stick to what your lawyer says you should do. Now, when I first read a few weeks back that he had hired Roger Clemens' attorney, I thought, wow. I mean, that in itself makes a statement. So that says, okay, I'm getting the best. It doesn't necessarily say, oh, my gosh, I'm totally innocent. But get the best. You can afford the best. I would say just don't say much. Say what you have to say. Keep smiling. And thank your fans and get out of Houston.
But image is everything to Adrian Peterson in the sense that here's a guy that's not only an outstanding player, but as you pointed out, kids love him, fans love him.
Right.
And he sells a lot of jerseys. So he's trying to wipe the slate clean. He wants to get it to where it was before that night. Can that happen?
Well, this is where I'd say don't tweet on your Twitter page until everything's done. Then thank your fans, no matter which way this goes. And hopefully it goes in his favor, But what he can benefit from is he is a Viking that didn't have a rap sheet coming in. Doesn't still have a rap sheet, so he should just continue to play on that, sparkly smile, good boy image that he has to his fans.
Speaking of rap sheets, there have been over 30 arrests of active NFL players in 2012, over half involving alcohol or drug charges. The other day, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, met with NFL PA leader DeMaurice Smith. They want to come up with a solution to get this thing under wraps. Now, the majority of NFL guys are law-abiding citizens. They do the right thing. But these are numbers that are concerning, and they bring the entire league down, don't they?
Eric, can you guess what I would say if I had Roger Goodell's ear? I'd say kick them all out. You know what? There are a lot of really talented players out there. There are a lot of fans who pay big money to come watch you guys. Kick them out. Maybe that's going to...
But here's the problem,
It is
Roshini.
Absolutely ridiculous to me that there are that many arrests and charges and convictions.
And I hear you, and if you're a borderline player who's basically on the team, 53rd roster spot, they might kick you off. If you're Des Bryant in Dallas and you're accused of hitting your mom, but you're also one of the top receivers in the NFL, they're not going to kick him off.
Well, if you are truly not guilty... the truth is the best defense. If you didn't do it, then go defend yourself. But why the heck? I mean, nowhere in a zillion years would my brother ever be accused of hitting our mother. Okay? So why the heck could that even happen? I'm pretty hardline on this, Eric, because these guys are making a lot of money. And their fans, you represent your team. Okay? You're bringing your whole team down, the rest of your whole state down, the rest of your team down. Get out of the courts. That's not what you're being paid to do.
I know you don't agree with that, Eric. I know you because you're one of these. You're one of these people that, like you said, you made the argument that this is your most talented player and blah 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 blah. And that argument is very valid, and it's really the one that it prevails. But I think Roshini's onto something, and I think there are a lot of fans out there, and maybe even people that are fringe fans, that might jump on board if they did take a harder line on this. I just wonder if they didn't start taking a harder line on this and take a stance, if they wouldn't be able to draw in some people that feel like Roshini do, because the people like you aren't going anywhere. They could throw Des Bryant, Adrian Peterson, Brett Favre. They could throw every player that you love out of the game, and you're still going to watch. But the risk is that the people that fall into Roshini's camp probably are going to be a little bit turned off.
And I am a big sports fan, Eric. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, it makes no sense to me. It's like, what could you be doing? Okay, get these guys anger management.
Well,
get them some help.
That's part of the issue with a guy like Des Bryant. The Cowboys should have known this when they drafted him. He had issues. He was born to, I believe, a 16-year-old crack mom.
Okay.
And he started out behind the 8 ball. Now, I'm not defending what he's accused of doing at all.
Right.
But the Cowboys knew it. This kid needed help out of the gate. Right. And I don't know what they did for him.
A little psychological
Right.
testing, meeting with the counselor. You don't have to tell everyone
Get
you're
the
doing
kids
this.
some
get
guidance.
Yeah, because a lot of these players are coming into these leagues younger and younger every year. Help them out.
Yeah, it's a situation the NFL's got to get a handle on. Although I don't think it's affecting ratings because the season starts tonight. You've got New Orleans, Arizona in that Hall of Fame game. I'm sure they're going to get good numbers, and people are ready for football. Roshini, let's face it, we are obsessed with college football in the NFL in this country.
All right, so Adrian, good vibes down to Houston. Hopefully you're coming home.
And the Vikings got to go there
conviction.
twice. They play a preseason game there, and they play there in late December. So I wonder what kind of protection he's going to get from the HPD. That could be interesting. The Vikings might want to bring their own security group down there, which they do on the road. So, all right, Roshini, good to have you in. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, Roshini Rajkumar talking a lot about Olympics, Starkey, AP, and all that good stuff.